Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. It's been a while. This is obviously for the 2026 astrology. I want to talk about what's coming in with the energies this year, what to expect, what signs will be benefiting, just in general for your astrology. You might need to know to watch this video a little bit. If you know your chart a bit, perfect. You'll be able to follow. If you're extremely new to astrology, it might be a little bit technical, but you still might get some info out of it. So let's get into it. We're going to start with the numerology for 2026. So 2026 is a one. So we're coming out of this confusing nine energy that we've been in the last 12 months. And the one is a very dynamic energy. So it's all about new beginnings, new starts, new energy. And it's a strong energy, the one. It's very bold. So I think, well, the nine coming out of that for 2025, a lot of people may have felt like they're just not sure about where they're headed with certain things in their life. But I think once we start getting into this one energy, things are going to start to move and sort of pop a little bit more and just globally as well. So there might be a feeling of a bit more momentum, and that also lines up for me with the astrology. When I look at the astrology, you see that a lot of planets, that the outer planets, especially Uranus, Neptune, and Saturn, those planets have kind of dipped into new signs in 2025. They have done that, but they sort of, retrograde back. For example, Saturn dipped into Aries in 2025, and then it's at the moment, I mean, we're in 2025 as I'm recording this. I'm recording this on the 5th of November, 2025. Saturn right now is back in Pisces. So same with Neptune, dipped into Aries, back in Pisces. Same with Uranus, dipped into Gemini in 2025, and it's coming back into retrograding back into Taurus. So by the time we get to 2026, not straight away, but within the first 6 months of the year, even before that, say it's about April off the top of my head, the movement of the planets going fully into these new signs that quite a few planets are moving into. So we have Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus all moving into new signs in 2026 and staying there, not retrograding back out. So I think based off that, in particular, that's showing that the energy is starting to really shift now in this new direction collectively. Okay. So that to me very much correlates with the one. I often find the numerology and the astrology have some synchronistic energies that are flowing together. So that's definitely something I'm seeing for 2026 of this new energy very strongly coming in. Also this year, Chiron, I will talk about this in more detail, but Chiron dips into Taurus, early Taurus, only up to 0 degrees, very early. So, it's only going to affect you if you have 0 to 2 degrees, probably of Taurus, but I'll get to that later. I will talk about some things like love, who's going to benefit financially and love-wise with harmonious aspects to Venus and some other things. So, let's get into the slides. I'm just going to click ahead if you're watching this visually. Where am I? There we go. So Pluto in Aquarius. Oh, we just have, I don't know if you can hear, I'm in Australia, obviously. Probably if you don't know me, you can tell by my accent. I don't know if you picked up on that, but there was a cockatoo that just screeched in the background as soon as I clicked the slide over. And interestingly, cockatoos are ruled by Uranus. They're very like come up very sudden, very unexpected. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So interesting. That just happened to comment on that. Spontaneous in the moment. But I don't know if the microphone picked it up because sometimes this microphone cancels out things in the background. Anyway, Pluto in Aquarius. So this year, Pluto fully goes into Aquarius. It does not go back, to Capricorn in any way. That's already been a thing in 2025, but we're getting a little bit further into the degrees. So if you've got anything in Aquarius, if you're an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising of any, you have any of the degrees from say 1 to 7, this is going to be quite life-changing for you this year because of the Pluto contact. So, it's going to be different whether it's your sun or moon in terms of how you feel it, or your rising sign if you've got Aquarius. If you want a personal consultation, I do that as well. So you can go to the link under the video where I can go in depth for you with all the different transits and look at the mitigating factors. If you've got difficult things and you've got harmonious things, what's helping, what's challenging you. I talk about all that I've got a natal chart analysis that you can order from my website. I also do with predictions as well. There's different things that I offer. But anyway, so the signs that are going to be experiencing challenging energy from Pluto are Aquarius, yes, even though it's a conjunction, with a conjunction, you do get definitely some beneficial things, but it starts off it can hit pretty hard when you have a Pluto conjunct Sun, for example, or Pluto on your rising or Pluto on your moon. As a conjunction, it's still going to be intense and bring up energy related to some kind of crisis, whether it's for some people, I know some Aquarians are going through some stuff, like some people, if it's the Sun or Mercury, it can be to do with things to do with health, different things like that. So, 2 to 5 or 2 to 7 roughly degrees of Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio are also going to feel some energies of tension from Pluto because it's a square aspect for Taurus and Scorpio, it is a challenging energy. Okay, so if you've got anything 2 to 5 or roughly 2 to 7 degrees of those signs, you will be feeling some tough, challenging energies from Pluto, where you're trying to integrate some energies around personal empowerment themes, and it could be to do with dealing with others because Pluto always encompasses sharing your energy in some way, sharing your resources, your life in some way with the involvement of others and how the involvement of others is affecting your life. For Leo, it's opposition from Pluto and Aquarius, which is very intense. I've seen a lot of people with like early degree Leo going through some kind of scandalous things or very, very intense power struggles. A lot to do with like can be career, can be the ego being challenged, even health stuff. But sometimes it's more complicated dynamics. It can feel very overbearing. But again, like you have to look at what's also helping you. So the signs that are harmonizing with Pluto are Aries, Gemini, Libra, and Sagittarius. And say you're a Leo and you're getting Pluto opposite your sun, but then you've got like say a Sagittarius moon, and then you've got some harmonious energy from Pluto also helping. So with the sextile. So, you have to look at everything, but these are just for the sake of doing the video, just very much more simplified, to get an idea of what's going on for you this year. So these signs, Aries, Gemini, Libra, and Sagittarius. Now, depending on the degrees, different things can be going on. Like Libras will have Saturn opposite your sun, so that is going to challenge Libra, and I'll talk about that later. But at the same time, Pluto is going to be trining the Libra energy, so that's also helping you to transform and giving you some kind of ability to tap into your personal power in a way that's helping you to go forward in your life. So that's what I mean. Now, July and November and December, so those 3 months of 2026, there is a rare alignment that's harmonious called a trine aspect involving Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius. So this is going to be something that's seen more in the collective energies. If it's in your chart, it's great for you, but I can't really speak to obviously all the different possibilities with individual charts, but collectively Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius trining, this could show up in a couple of different ways. It could show up in terms of things speeding up in society, in the world, in terms of things that I've spoken about on my channel before with Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius, technology, advancements in technology, changes in monetary system, the way we use technology and all these things in society. And there's going to be some kind of advancements and shifts that are starting to move quite quickly with the trine. It's just going to flow. And there's definitely some energy here involving, which I've discussed before, empowerment of the people. With Pluto and Aquarius is the ultimate kind of shift that we're headed towards. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to start out initially feeling like empowerment for the people. It might feel like being on the back foot. It may feel like the people feel vulnerable. The world is changing. We're seeing that, if you're paying attention to what's going on, it can feel really intense at this time. And I do believe on a spiritual level, if you're a soul in this world at this time, your soul, before even coming into this world, has agreed to come in at this particular time for a reason to do, your part, whatever that may be for your own life. And so Pluto and Aquarius is raising of the collective consciousness. I've got a whole video on that where I go in depth about that. about increase in telepathy and certain advancements and things that are happening that are not only on a level of the material side of science, but on a quantum level, on a higher frequency of consciousness. That's the more exciting aspect to me is people's consciousness expanding and people's ability to understand the importance of authenticity, of being your authentic self with Pluto in Aquarius, transformation of the individual, transformation of the collective. So there's a lot there, but that's just sort of looking at that in a nutshell. But like I said, if you want to know more details about Pluto and Aquarius, Uranus and Gemini, I have individual videos on that. I might link them below if I get a chance. Okay, let's move on to the next slide if I can. There we go. Slowly it's moving. Okay, so Uranus in Gemini this year in 2026, like I said, it doesn't go back to Taurus. Thank God. Breathe a sigh of relief if you're a Taurus. I'm a Taurus and it's been, my God, I can't even say. It's just been so much unpredictable energy for me. My sun in Taurus is in the seventh house of relationships. It's all around other people and unpredictable energy from other people going through crazy stuff and um contacting me about it. Finally, from April 27th, you do not have to deal with Uranus in your sign anymore. And where we're at now and in from 2025, it's mostly late degree Tauruses, people born towards the end of Taurus that would have been feeling this intense, disruptive, unpredictable, stressful, highly nervously charged energy that would have been, could have been affecting your sleep, your health, whatever part of your chart it's in. For me, like it was mostly around relationships with others because of my personal placement in my chart, but just an example. So Uranus was in fall in Taurus, which is why it was so difficult. And we have seen from for many years since Uranus has been in Taurus. I think it went in 2016. So it's been a while. Obviously, outer planets spend a longer time in each sign. Um, a lot of problems with the food industry, food being tainted, like if you've been paying attention to what's going on, issues with farming, with agriculture, with, just quality, quantity of food, inflation affecting our ability to, you know, have abundance. And there's been a restriction around that Taurus energy in some way, even though Uranus is an unpredictable, shocking energy. It's definitely been something where it's felt weird and different for Taurus. Um, Anyway, so we're moving out of that. So thank goodness. And into Gemini. So Gemini from April 27th, 2026. Those Geminis that are going to feel it are this year in 2026 are only early degree Gemini. So 0 to 5 degrees in your chart. If you've got anything, if you're born in the first week of Gemini, say, or if you know your chart and you've got 0 to 5-ish, 5 to 6 degrees, 5 to 7 degrees, maybe, you will feel this as big shakeups. Okay. So sometimes when Uranus is in your sign, you can be so if you're in a situation where you've been sort of stuck for a long time or in some kind of status quo energy, Uranus really comes through and says you can't hold on to this situation anymore. And you can be in denial and you can be like, I don't want to change, like I don't want to move from what I'm doing. But Uranus will force you to. And it will come through very suddenly when it's on your degree, for example. And sometimes, think about it like this too. The planets have several passes. They don't just go over once and then affect your life and that's it. They retrograde, they go back. Usually there's 3 passes, right? Of the planet going over your particular sign. So what I see with Uranus is like loosening a tooth. It's like that's just the analogy that came to me. And so, when you're a kid, you have a loose tooth and it's at first it's like, oh, it's a bit loose. It's not really doing anything. It's kind of still there and you wait. And then, time passes and, you might eat an apple and it loosens a little bit more and you're like, oh, it's kind of getting there. And then one day you just crunch onto something and the tooth just pops out. This is Uranus in Gemini, like for me. And so it will loosen up these things in your life that are stagnant and probably on the last pass. So that could take a couple of years. So it doesn't just happen, like I say, in one pass. So you might look at 2026 and go, okay, so I've got 5 degrees of Gemini. So Uranus is going to go over that at this month. That doesn't necessarily mean in that particular month that your life is going to be completely shifted. Though you might have some inklings of change, you might have some feelings of like, okay, this is changing, that's changing, it's manageable, whatever. And then on the last pass, say in the next year, it could really shift things for you. So that's tends to be how it works with the outer planets moving usually 3 times over a placement. So, anyway, if you've got Gemini placements, expect your life to be changing in the next few years, depending on your degree. You know, Uranus will be in Gemini for a while, quite some years. So, you know, if you're born at the end of Gemini, this is not going to affect you. Generally speaking, the collective, I don't know if anybody has noticed this. People, how I've talked when I talk to customers and people, friends, and everyone's saying the time is speeding up. People have really felt it even in 2025. It's going to speed up even more in 2026 as Uranus fully goes into Gemini from April 27th. I think April 27th onwards, time is going to feel like it's speeding up to a whole other level. And it's almost like trying to catch your breath with everything, you know, trying to keep up with your life. So, but Uranus changes things, you know, it's unequivocal. It will change your life. Now, the signs, like as I've listed up on the screen, that are getting the most effects of Uranus shaking up their lives are Geminis, which get, you know, Geminis will get the conjunction. Sagittarius will get the opposition. So if you've got 0 to 5 degrees of Sag, there could be unexpected sort of shocks from other people or from situations external to you that you're thinking, where has this come from? Why is this happening? You know, this is out of the blue, like really out of the blue. So yeah, you know, expect some unexpected developments from other people around you that just really come out of the blue, that shock you a little bit, that make you go, whoa, I did not see that coming, you know. Also for Virgo and Pisces, you get the square aspect. So that can be a bit jarring where you're on one track and then something comes in, sort of shifts you a bit, and you're just like, oh, now I've got to focus on this when I was focused on that. Like this is very jarring energy. And it can be where you know, for example, say you start a job and you think you're going to be in that job and then something happens and the company shuts down. You're like, oh, you know, I've got to look for something else now. Or someone from your old work asks you to go back, you know, just strange things that are just very unpredictable could be coming up. And they can throw a bit of a spanner in the works of your routine and the things that you're doing in your daily life. You know, Gemini rules daily life, communications, um, travel, short distance travel, also air travel, things like that. So for these signs, Gemini, Sag, Virgo, and Pisces, there could be unexpected trips coming up. There could be unexpected need to travel. There could be unexpected things that happen when you're traveling. There could be just the unexpected things in your daily life. Your mind could be really charged up as well. So it depends what part of your chart, you know, if you've got these placements, these signs, depending. So, you know, sometimes if it's like the sixth house or the 10th house, it's going to be like your working life is really affected, your day to day, your health, your goals, things like that. If it's the third house, it's going to be your mind. You know, you like your mind is going to be really charged up with energy and you're going to be very restless mentally. If it's your home life, there's going to be changes in your home life, but that's also your emotional, you know, core, your most private emotions. So things are going to be shifting in that regard. So, you know, it depends on where your placements are. Now, the lucky signs for the Uranus aspects that are helpful are Libra, Aquarius, Leo, and Aries. And so you guys get the harmonious energy from Uranus. So this is going to help liberate you in some way. Now, for Libras, you guys will have at some stage of the year Saturn opposing, like I said. That could be restricting you in some way, but also liberating you in another way. So I think for Libras, it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag with the other influences going on. Again, it depends, you know, what degree of Libra, but Saturn gets to, you know, about midway through Aries this year, and I'll get to that in a second. Um, and Leo and Aries, you guys will get a sextile as well from Uranus and Gemini, which it's, you know, a soft aspect, but it definitely helps things flow better for you. You won't feel as blocked because you've got that helpful assistance, you know, from that planet. So let's move on. Whoops, went backwards. How did I do that? Okay, so did I miss one? Wait a second. Oh my gosh, no, I don't want that. Sorry, guys. For some reason, there we go. It wasn't showing me the right thing. There we go. Okay. So now we're looking at the Jupiter transits through Cancer and Leo in 2026. Now, Jupiter will be in Cancer between 21 to 29 degrees from January 2026 to the end of June 2026. So this is a beneficial time for the water signs that have those degrees, 21 to 29. Okay, if you're born in early Cancer, you've already benefited from Jupiter in Cancer earlier in 2025. So water signs with those degrees that I just mentioned will be getting harmonious energy, helpful energy. If you've got Venus in Cancer, it's particularly nice for you. If you've got Venus from 21 to 29 degrees of Cancer, you will get the conjunction. This is a very beneficial transit. You could fall in love, you could have a baby, you could have moved to a beautiful new home, you could have more abundance coming in. You could, depending where Venus is in your chart, you can benefit greatly from this feeling of flow of abundance coming in. It can be very lucky, you know. So love and money are going to be very good for those with 21 to 29 degrees of Cancer. If you've got Pisces, you get the trine aspect from Jupiter in Cancer. But again, 21 to 29 degrees only this year in 2026. So you'll get the trine that's going to be helpful. It's going to be flowing. It's going to harmonize and bring more harmony to your relationships, make things easier for you. For Scorpio as well, but Venus in Scorpio is a detriment energy. So they have a little bit of a harder time. However, you will get some blessings if you've got 21 to 29 degrees of Scorpio as well in your relationships and your finances, and things will start to move forward in those areas that may have been quite difficult in the past. Now, we have a big shift with Jupiter moving into Leo this year. Very exciting for the fire signs, very exciting for Leos. July 1st to December 31st, Jupiter will be in Leo. So, and it will continue into 2027 as well. So that's good news. Of course, Jupiter always spends a year in a sign. But if you're a fire sign, you will benefit. Anyone from early to mid Leo placements will benefit from this, and anyone with Aries or Sagittarius from early to mid degrees will be receiving the trine. Now, if you've got Venus in Leo, you will get Jupiter conjunct Venus, which is a falling in love type energy, which is also boosting your status. It could boost your finances. It can boost your sense of abundance and prosperity as well, which is lovely. And if you've got Venus, say, in Sagittarius or Venus in Aries, which is a little bit more difficult, Venus in Aries, but you'll still benefit and see forward momentum in relationships, in your finances, with growth in your life. It's more of a gentle energy, the trine, but it's still very helpful. So Jupiter in Leo is a very exuberant energy. It's more fun. It's a bolder, it's fire and fire. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. In Leo, it's very fiery, very passionate. Um, you could definitely, like, if you've got Venus in Leo, you could have a child if you want, you know, if you're wanting to have a child, that could bring that into your life. Or it could just, like I say, bring more of a sense of abundance and doing really well, like in different areas of your life to do with relationships, love, family, finances, all that stuff. So yeah. And if you're a Leo sun, then this is going to really propel your life forward in a very strong way. Big changes for Leos. So maybe new career, new relationship, new living situations, new beginnings that really push you forward in an exciting way. So exciting opportunities can come for Leos from July 1st onwards and into the rest of the year. All right, moving on. Sorry, it's gone back again. All right, so Saturn will be in Aries all year. I'm just going to touch on this very quickly. This is a restructuring of a new beginning. I have a whole video on Saturn in Aries, so I would refer you to that video if you want to go in depth. And if you've got Aries in your chart and you need to know what's going on for you, it can be a restrictive influence. Of course, Saturn is always restrictive, but it's always teaching us some really powerful lessons around personal strength, around boundaries. You know, we may need to have really strong boundaries with others if people are pushing our boundaries too much. Saturn Aries will cut people out. Like it's that kind of energy. So if you're an Aries sun, moon, rising, and you are dealing with someone who's really consistently draining you, or you know, something like that where it's just consistently harmful to you, you may decide this year or next year that you're cutting it out of your life. Um, if it's your Saturn return or your second Saturn return, this is restructuring a new beginning, a new path for you. If you're an Aries sun, whatever part of your chart your sun is in, it's creating a new path for you, but there's a lot of hard work and discipline needed to start a new path. You may have some fears around it, like, oh, I've got to start this new path and I want to, and I know I'm doing the right thing, but I kind of have to start so many things all from the very, very beginning. That is Saturn in Aries. It's like that self-discipline and hard work definitely comes into it. It's not a time where you can really cruise if you're an Aries. It's a time when you have to hustle and really put the efforts in to create a new beginning for yourself. And it may be difficult. It may not be easy, but it's definitely doable. But it's just going to be a lot of focus, a lot of knuckling down, maybe some restrictions compared to what you're used to in the past. Maybe something's getting downsized, simplified. Um, you know, say you've been living your life in a particular way, that could all be changing if you're an Aries sun, moon or rising, particularly sun or rising. Um, so a new path is beginning for you, but it's you need to put in the efforts. There's no shortcuts here. When Saturn's in Aries, it's like you might feel very militant and very strict with yourself and others, and like, no, I have to do this and it has to go this way, and you could feel very intense like that. If you're in a partnership, just be mindful of your partner because you could be being a bit too militant or militaristic because this is very much that energy. Now, Saturn Aries is going to be impacting, like I say, the Aries people, but also Librans are going to get the opposition. Capricorns and Cancers are going to get the square aspect. So those are the signs that will be affected by Saturn this year and next year as well. So yeah, it's there's some a little bit of tough energy. I think it's going to be most intense for Aries, Libra. It could still be quite challenging because the square is not an easy aspect for Capricorn and Cancers. But, again, it depends on what else you've got going on. If you're a Cancerian, you've got Saturn square, um, you're, say, Cancer sun, but you've also got Jupiter conjunct your sun. It's like your life is really being pushed forward in a very strong way, and it could feel like a mixed bag of like heavy responsibility with Saturn squaring and also new opportunities that are asking you to step up. Maybe you're going up in your career and you've got a lot of responsibility. That's kind of like, the potential of looking at the different planets affecting you at the same time. Um, but either way, even with Saturn, is always asking us to grow. It's asking us to do the heavy lifting so that we can be stronger, more responsible, more independent in some way. And yeah, doing the hard work basically to get the results is what it's about. The nodes will be changing signs in 2026, but not right away. So we still have in 2026, Pisces and Virgo are still, the nodes are transiting in those signs. But once we get to the 28th of July, that's when the nodes shift. Destined life changes for those with prominent placements in Aquarius and Leo. So Aquarius and Leo continue to really get really strong life changes because of, Aquarius is getting Pluto transits, Leo is getting opposition from Pluto, and then Jupiter goes into Leo as well, second half of the year. So those signs are getting a lot of destined change. If you're an Aquarius or a Leo, a lot of destined change, especially if you're early Aquarius and early to mid Leo. But yeah, so the change of the nodes shows a shift in the collective around the energy to do with destiny and those signs having key turning points in depending where these nodes are. If you've got the North Node, say in Aquarius in your fourth house, you could be moving in the next 12 to 18 months. If you've got the North Node in your seventh house of relationships, you could meet very important people that are coming into your life. The South Node in Leo shows a moving away from the energy of Leo in some way. It's going more towards the collective energies and what the people want rather than Leo is like people in power, I feel. So an egocentric kind of energy that's just shallow and just like um overly bold and egocentric, but not really kind. So if there's low frequencies in that Leo energy, that's going to be shifting and going more into the Aquarius energy. And with Pluto fully going into Aquarius and then the North Node shifting to Aquarius, it's really, I feel, quite significant of the Aquarian age going to another level. Moving on, Chiron will be in part in Aries and then moves into Taurus on June 20th. So the Taurians are going to be affected, really only those with 0 degrees, but maybe up to 2 degrees. So just to clarify, Chiron only goes to 0 degrees of Taurus. I put the up to 2 degrees because it can still be influential and felt by people that have up to 2 degrees of Taurus. So Taurus is about the material side of life, stability, security. So some people that are having a Chiron transit to their sun, moon, or rising in Taurus, if you've got that 0 to 2 degrees, you could find that your material reality is shifting in some way that feels a bit raw, or your sense of stability or security is shifting, whether that's an internal feeling for you or an external. It could be a bit of both. Um, there's a healing that's part of this, but it can be confronting. It can feel painful, it can feel like you're feeling a bit ungrounded with Chiron in Taurus. Now, that said, Chiron's still going to be from 22 to 29 degrees of Aries this year, and it dips into Taurus this year and then goes back to Aries for a bit. But next year, obviously in 2027, it goes further into Taurus. But Chiron moves very slowly. Okay, so if you've the only people being affected this year, like I say, are very early born Taurus or people with Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mars at 0 up to 2 degrees. So, yeah, it can affect your material reality. It can affect how you feel about your job situation, your money. So, if you're feeling a little bit uncertain about these things, it's probably a good idea to look at what you need to confront. Taurus is also the energy of love, abundance, prosperity. So, all those things can come into it. If it's Chiron on your moon, you could feel very raw emotionally around those most sensitive and important things in your personal inner world. It's asking you to heal something though from the past. That's what Chiron in Taurus is about. So yeah, it's an important shift because Chiron has been in Aries for many years already. Um, I've done a whole other video on that a long time ago when it first moved in on my channel. But if you've got 22 to 29 degrees of Aries, this is still affecting you. If it's your sun, say you've got sun 22 to 29 degrees of Aries, you could feel your health is or your career is being affected. You're going through a shift, a change. You're becoming more sensitive in some way, and it could feel a bit raw, but you're learning something about your more inner sensitive side, the inner part of your life. So, yeah. And that's it, guys. So if you'd like to book your own astrological consultation or psychic reading, go to readingswithsusan.net, and you can follow me on Patreon, patreon.com, Susan Starlight, for more content that I post, pick a card readings, more stuff on the astrology, full moons, new moons, eclipses, the whole deal. Well, I usually tend to do like 4 extra videos per month, which is a lot more than what I get a chance to do on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Hope the video was helpful. If you have questions or comments, please put them below. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye.